Good afternoon. During the declared emergency in the City of Toronto, Committee of Adjustment virtual public hearings are being conducted via WebEx, an online digital platform, and will be live streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. These measures are necessary to comply with physical distancing requirements and a provincial order that limits attendance at public gatherings. My name is Bruce Mullock, and I will be chairing this meeting. Committee of Adjustment panel members participating via WebEx and who can be seen and heard are Aaron Cheng, Nimrod Salomon, and Peter Reed. City staff will be assisting us throughout the meeting, including moderating the WebEx platform. Agents, applicants, and other interested parties participating in this virtual hearing registered in advance. They will be connecting through WebEx using a compatible electronic device. Their participation will be via audio only. We acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. In accordance with Sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990, as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaw that apply to property, permission to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consent to sever property or create new lots. Anyone who wants to receive a copy of the committee's decision for an application must submit a written request by email to the general email address for the Committee of Adjustment, Toronto and East York District Office. Please include your name, address, and an email address. All Committee of Adjustment and TLAB notifications and appeal updates will be sent by email only. You may not agree with the decision of the committee. Decisions may be appealed to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, TLAB, or, in some limited circumstances, to the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal, LPAT. Appeal instructions will be set out at the bottom of the committee's decision. Participants who have registered in advance will be connected to this virtual hearing and will be muted automatically upon entry. When the item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. I will call each item in the order it is listed on the agenda. Where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant will proceed with his or her presentation if required. The committee may ask questions and/or take the matter directly into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant or agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will comment when you are reaching the 5-minute mark. When addressing the committee, please speak slowly, clearly state your name. Please confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. Where required, the applicant or agent will proceed first with the presentation of the application. Then, individuals, either in support of or opposed to the application, will be invited to speak. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have completed their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant or agent will be unmuted and will have an opportunity to rebut only those issues that were raised by the speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion, and the application will be taken into committee for a decision. Now, please note the committee may not entertain revisions to the proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application, if substantially revised, to ensure the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice are informed of the changes. Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, have the minutes of the last Committee of Adjustment hearing been confirmed?
Yes, they were.
Thank you. Members of staff, panel, do any of you have interest to declare with respect to any of the items on this afternoon's agenda?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I do have a conflict to declare. Item number 2056 Servington Crescent. I live in the area of the application.
Thank you very much. So Mr. Salomon will recuse for item number 20. And Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, are there any requests to withdraw an application?
No, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We will now proceed with our hearing, starting with item number 1821, ALDWYCH Ave. On this application, the committee has before it material submitted by the applicant, staff reports from Community Planning, Toronto East York, Transportation Services, Urban Forestry. And there is opposition correspondence from 23 ALDWYCH Avenue and from 25 ALDWYCH Avenue. So, Mr. Moderator, do we have the applicant?
Yes, through Chair, Kyle Cadra, the agent, is on the line, and there is one speaker in opposition.
One speaker in opposition. Okay, thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair.
Please state your name.
This is Kyle Cadra, the agent and architect.
Thank you very much. You will have 5 minutes to present your application, and those 5 minutes will start now, so please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we are proposing a rear addition to an existing house. The existing house has already an existing accessory dwelling unit in the basement. The current access is being provided from the rear side of the lot. However, if you look at the site plan, you'll notice that the existing house is positioned in a way, and because of the shape of the lot, there is very little side yard setback. So we are proposing to shift the entry to the basement to the front side of the lot, which is generating 2 variances, and adding a 5x4 addition in the back. We have reviewed the comments from transportation and from forestry. I heard that you said that there are comments from city planning. I have not received those, so if there are any recommendations, I would really like to have knowledge of that.
Through you, Mr. Chair, maybe while the person who is going to be speaking in opposition is addressing you, the agent can go on to the Application Information Center, because that's where all the materials are that are in your file, and you'll be able to see the planning report there.
Yeah, it's okay. I just see how you highlighted it, Madam Secretary, through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much. Yeah, we're okay with this recommendation. We have read the comments from the neighbors, which are 2 semi-detached houses on the on the east side of the house, and we submitted a rebuttal, or like our response. I am hoping that the committee was able to review those responses. And we also submitted reference properties within the area, which demonstrate that none of the variances being requested are setting any precedent. I'll be happy to answer any questions at this point. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that. I think we'll hold our questions until we have heard from the person speaking in concern, opposition. Mr. Moderator? Good afternoon.
Hi there. This is David Peff from 23 ALDWYCH Avenue.
Thank you,
And I'm
David.
speaking on behalf of myself and Michelle Matsui, my wife.
Will you do you both intend to speak, or just one of you?
I'm gonna give it a shot, and then my wife may have a few things to say as well if I've missed some points. But if that's okay, she's also registered, but we are on the same
Okay.
WebEx call right now.
I'm going to say then that you'll have 5 minutes jointly to address the committee.
Okay.
And
Yeah, that's fine.
Your 5 minutes is beginning now. Please continue.
Okay, great, thank you. So I just want to, I guess, highlight some of the points that were made in our submission that was received by the committee on July 15th of 2020. With regard to two objections, the first refers to Chapter 10.40.30.40, Bylaw 569/2013. Which states that the proposed coverage would be 45%, which is beyond the 35%, and I take it that's the reason for the minor variance, based on one of the documents from the that we received, CA plans dated January 23rd, 2020. We see that the proposed coverage should be 48.6%, not 45%. So perhaps a clarification on that. But regardless of whether it's 48 or 45%, this doesn't seem like a minor variance to us. This would represent about a 40% increase in the footprint of the property. Again, looking for some sort of precedent or sense as to what a minor variance is, as opposed to a major variance. Similarly, another objection for us is regarding the bylaw 569/2030, Chapter 10.40.40.40 1A, and this regards the proposed FSI of 87.86%, which again represents a 17% increase from what the bylaw allows. Again, for us, that's significantly a significant variance, so again, if there's precedent for that, or just some sort of sense from the committee as to what a minor variance is on that front, would be appreciated. And then just some additional comments. In terms of the draftsmanship of the proposed plan, there are a few errors that give us pause in terms of really understanding and appreciating whether the plans that have been drawn up are accurate. To note, on 21 ALDWYCH, the existing back wall is not in the correct position in terms of the plans. 23 ALDWYCH, our property, we do not have an on-site parking pad. 23 ALDWYCH has an open back deck. We also have an enclosed frame porch, which is not correctly indicated in the plans. The new proposed softscape at 21 ALDWYCH does not permit the occupants of 21 ALDWYCH to walk from our shared walkway to their new driveway. So the way it's laid out right now, they would be walking on our front entranceway. So I'm not sure that's accurate, or if that's accurate in the plans, I'm not sure how that works from our perspective. And then 21 ALDWYCH's existing and proposed front east garden is partially situated on our property line. And then a couple of other notes, right to light. Because of the addition in the back, we're going to have, deep shadows will now cover our backyard during late afternoon and early evening. And that's the time that we use it most. This will impact our continued enjoyment and value of our property. Wondering if there's a light study for review that would actually determine exactly what type of, how that would impact our backyard exactly. And then also, how the proposed changes might affect surrounding homes as well. Then some other concerns, just undermining.
How do you think it will
what kind of
impact?
Insurance?
How do you think it will impact your backyard?
Sorry, go ahead.
Could you tell us how you think it might impact your backyard?
Based on right now, I think our whole deck and probably a good 75% of our yard would be we wouldn't be getting any sunlight from probably about 4:30 onwards. So in the summertime, sun's out 8:30, 9 o'clock. We're going to lose that sunlight for 4 or 5 hours.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Pett, your time is up now.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask my panel members if they have any questions of you. But just before I do, just to make a very simple comment to you about minor variances, it's not so much a percentage thing, it is an impact. We gauge impact on the neighbor's property, impact on the neighborhood of the minor variances proposed. So it isn't quite as simple as working out the percentage that a variance appears to be. It's impact. That's what counts to people. Do any of the committee members have questions for Mr. Pett? No. Okay, then, in that case, we shall return to Mr. Kadra and ask him to rebut on issues, for example, like impact on the neighbor's backyard caused by his proposal.
Yes.
Mr. Kadra?
Allow me to go through the comments really quickly. I don't think this is going to take a lot of time. In terms of the 45% coverage, although our calculations demonstrated that it's going to be closer to 47, we are satisfied with official zoning notice provided by the zoning department, building department, which states it's 45%. We are not concerned that there may be an error there. In terms of the draftsmanship, I do acknowledge that on our site plan, the next door houses were not illustrated as per the existing conditions. Our site plan was based on an older survey. However, after looking at the comments from the gentleman that just commented, we do not see that having any effect on this application. And once we apply for a building permit, we're going to actually be updating the land survey, the site plan, because we did receive a new updated survey, and it's going to reflect the current conditions. In terms of the right-of-way, there's no existing right-of-way. I do acknowledge that, and this is why we have proposed to move the entry to the front of the house so that there's no disturbance from our clients and on the neighbors. So I think this is an added value for the neighbors who are concerned. And in terms of the right-of-light, there's existing trees and quite a high fence in between the two neighbors, and there is an existing high privacy fence. I would imagine at least 6 feet high, where the neighbors are, sit on their deck. And if there would be any impact at all in terms of shadow, it may be just right before sunset. And honestly, I don't think any direct sunlight is hitting there at this time at that point. All of the backyards are south-facing, and they do all receive quite a lot of light. We are not proposing any windows facing the neighbor's house. So in terms of privacy, that will not be a matter of concern. The only reason why there may be concern by the neighbors is because the two semi-detached next to us are substantially closer to the front line than the house in question. However, even with that, the addition is not going to be causing any issues, in my honest opinion. And I don't see any negative impact on the neighbors or on the community. And I would like to direct the committee members through you, Mr. Chair, to refer to the list of references that we obtained from Committee of Adjustment records, which illustrate that neither the coverage nor the floor space index out of range. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Panel members, any questions for the applicant? If there are no questions, then committee will take the application into committee for a decision. So comments, please, or if there's a motion, please. Mr. Shea?
Maybe I can begin. I've got concerns with the overall amount of development that's being proposed. I believe the 45% lot coverage is very high. The story addition at the rear, I believe, is adding to that and encroaches then into the rear yard, and it will affect the privacy of the adjacent lot. And so I do believe it's an overdevelopment of the site, and I would forward a motion of refusal.
Motion to refuse by Mr. Salomon. Is there a second to that motion? Seconded by Mr. Reed. We are visual again, so we can go by show of hands. All those in favor of the motion, show of hands, please. Sir, the application is refused.
Understood. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. The committee moves on to application number 19. 393 Clinton Street. On this application, committee has before it materials submitted by the applicant. We have a decision by the Committee of Adjustment from 2019. And we have a staff report from Urban Forestry. Mr. Moderator?
Through you, Mr. Chair, Gordon Cumming, the agent, is on the line. There are no speakers in opposition.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Could you state your name, please?
It's Gordon Cumming.
Thank you very much. Okay, panel members, on this application, do you wish a presentation? Do you have any questions of the applicant?
I do. Can you just describe what happened between your last appearance at the Committee of Adjustment and now? What are we seeing now that's different?
Well, the first time I was going for a full third floor with 2 bedrooms, so I needed a flat roof. But the committee felt that because of the neighborhood is mainly slope roof, that the impact of the flat roof just would stand out on the street. So they requested that I put a slope roof in. So I still have a third floor, but now it's hidden in the slope roof. It's only 1 bedroom now.
Further questions?
Yes, I do have a question. The proposal is an increase in FSI from 0.6 to 0.99. What's the current as-built FSI on the site?
Well, that's the confusing part, because the zoning person included the basement as the FSI. I've only extended it 3.5 feet. So how could it go from 0.6 to 0.9 with 3.5 feet? I was very confused, but she insisted because she recalculated the basement all height, and I'm sure that the ceiling is closer to the ground than the floor is, but she insisted that it wasn't. And she went through a fairly complex calculation of side yard slope, and it's like inches difference. And she included the basement, and that's why it became so large. I've only included about 3'10" I've extended. You can see the little job on the ground floor there, where a frame wall is, the existing brick walls there. See, the front wall and side walls have not changed. I've just added a few feet to the back to increase the bedrooms a little.
If you'll hang on for a moment, we'll try to bring up that related drawing. Just hang on, and then you can illustrate this. Are you referring to the site plan now?
Yeah, you can see the dashed line there, near just beyond the back porch where the existing is and the new is. On the inside of the room there. There it is. Yeah, right there. There you go. That's like 3.5 feet. So I don't know how it went from 0.6 to 0.9. And I asked her, and she said, well, I included the basement.
Can you open drawing A6? That's the east elevation. I just want to make sure that's the basement elevation, right? Is that the door to the basement?
That is, yes, right now there's a concrete porch there, and that's a walk down into the basement.
Oh, I see.
So I've taken that porch off and replaced it because I want a big sliding door for an in-law suite or a granny suite in the basement.
Yeah.
I wanted a big door there, so I've shifted the stairs over. It's essentially the same thing again.
Did she ever explain to you how she determined the established grade? Did she make the keywords like that for you?
I've never been able to figure out how the zoning officers came up with that average grade and that established grade.
I think for some reason you're in a very interesting situation. So I think it's reasonable for me looking at it differently without considering the basement as, I mean, technically speaking, I see why I should consider the basement as a GFA. Just a grading issue, I think.
Yeah. I could not, I tried many times, but I can't come up with the same number she came up with.
Okay.
Any further questions? In that case, then the committee will take the application into committee for a decision. And general comments, committee members.
Sure, I'd be happy to put forward a motion. I think this is modest, and the fact that it's mostly in keeping with the existing footprint of the house gives me comfort, and the fact that the applicant has made an effort to adjust their application to respond to the concerns of the committee members. So I would move to approve with no conditions.
Motion to approve by Mr. Reid. Is there a second to that? Second by Mr. Cheng. All those in favor, show of hands. The application is approved.
Thank you.
The next application is number 2056 Servington Crescent, and Mr. Salomon will be recusing on this application. On this application, committee has before it applicant's materials, and Mr. Moderator, is the applicant with us?
Through you, Mr. Chair, Alex Burrows, the agent, is on the line, and there are no speakers in opposition.
Thank you. So,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's Alex Burrows.
Sorry, Alex. It sounds like you have some feedback, so if you have any other devices playing the hearing, you need to mute them. You can only have this one speaking volume.
I have both my phone and my...
Is it possible that I can just phone you and you can mute your computer?
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay, hold on one moment, please.
For 00505, you know that
Okay, Mr. Burrows, can you hear me? Hello, Alex?
Hello?
Hello, we can hear you now.
Oh, you can. Okay, great. No echo?
Even though we have you on both lines, the computer is now working fine with no echo.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. So Alex Burrows, I'm both the applicant and the architect. And Mr. Chair, there's only one variance in front of you. I don't know if you could actually see me as well, but basically what exists.
Mr. Burrows?
Yes.
Just hang on for a moment. Good to have you with us. I'm just going to check with the panel, and we'll see if we need a presentation from you. Let me ask the panel on that. Anyone for a presentation? Doesn't appear to be. So are there any questions for Mr. Burrows by panel members?
No.
No questions either. So in that case, we will actually take the application into committee now for a motion. So I look to panel members for a motion, please.
Sure, I'm happy to put forward a motion. I mean, we only have this one variance, and it's reflecting an existing condition. So I commend the applicant for trying to fit this application within the existing zoning bylaws, and this is reflecting existing. So I would move to approve with no conditions.
Thank you. Motion to approve by Mr. Reid. Is there a second for that motion? Mr. Cheng seconds. All those in favor? Show of hands. The application is approved.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee.
Thank you. And committee moves on to application number 21, 1141 Dufferin Street. 1141 Dufferin Street, we have before us the applicant's material submitted. We have correspondence in support from 1143 Dufferin and a form letter in support from 1110 Dufferin. Writing in interest or concern, we have correspondence from 630 Gladstone Avenue, Ellen McLean. So,
For you, Mr. Chair, I think it's the same agent for, oh, no, it's not. Okay.
okay. Mr. Moderator?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent Sudin Zhang on the line and the colleague architect Enrique Valencia for questions if need be. No speakers in opposition.
No speakers in opposition. So in that case, I'll ask committee members whether they would like a presentation.
Yes, my name is Sudin Zhang.
Committee members, any questions for the applicant? Don't appear to be. That being the case, committee will take the application directly into committee for a decision. Is there a motion on this application, please?
My comments would be that I think the variances are minor, that it appears that all the work is on the interior and there isn't any exterior work, and I believe that the variances are minor. I would put forward a motion of approval with no conditions.
Thank you very much. Second to that motion. Mr. Reid, seconding. Motion to approve by Mr. Solomon, second Mr. Reid. All those in favor? The application is approved unanimously.
Thank you very much, committee. Thank you.
Thank you. We move to number 22, 1500 Dufferin Street. And on this application, committee has before it applicant's materials and, Mr. Moderator.
Through you, Mr. Chair, Nelson Espinola. The agent is on the line, and there are no speakers in opposition.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Espinola.
Yes, very good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Nelson here is the agent for its application.
Thank you very much. Let me ask the panel members whether they would like a presentation. Panel members? No. Any questions for the applicant? In that case, there being no questions, we shall take the matter into committee directly, and I shall look to panel members for a motion, please.
I'm happy to put forward a motion on this one. I think this is it's on a hilly part of Dufferin, but it's one of the shorter houses on the street, and they're adding a floor. And there are many 3-story houses in the area, and the variance is requested to necessitate that are all minor. So I would put forward a motion to approve with no conditions.
Motion to approve by Mr. Reid. Second for that motion. Thank you, Mr. Chang. Seconded. All those in favor? And the application is approved unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
We move on to number 23, 100 Winchester Street. Here, the committee is looking at materials submitted by the applicant, including photographs of the property. There's a covering letter from Virginia Hamara, the applicant. We have email correspondence from Heritage Preservation Services, a staff report from Heritage Preservation, and there are 2 form letters in support from 400 Sackville and 98 Winchester Street. Mr. Moderator.
Through you, Mr. Chair, Monica Kuhn, the agent is on the line, and there are no speakers in opposition.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we do. Could you state your name, please?
Yes, it's Monica Kuhn. I'm the architect and agent for the owner.
Thanks very much. Okay. Panel members, are there any questions of the applicant? Do we require a presentation on this application? We don't. In that case, committee can take the matter directly into committee for a motion. So I look to committee members for a motion, please.
I'm happy to support this application. I believe the variances are minor. The existing FSI is already at 1.3, and they're proposing to increase it to 1.5. So it's a very small increase. The reduced rear yard setbacks an existing condition, and I believe that the addition at the rear will be in line with the abutting semi, and so there's no impact. So I would put forward a motion to approve the variances subject to heritage preservation conditions.
Thank you very much. Motion to approve by Mr. Salomon, subject to heritage preservation services, seconded by Mr. Reid. All those in favor? And the application is approved unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Which brings us to application number 24, 5 Four Oaks Gate. Committee is looking at applicant's materials submitted and presentation materials prepared by Hudson Architect, including photographs and a location map. Mr. Moderator, is the applicant with us?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, Will Hudson, the agent is on the line, and there are no speakers in opposition.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Hudson.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee.
Let me ask committee panel members whether they'd like a presentation. I see a need for one on this one. There don't appear to. Any questions for Mr. Hudson?
I do have a question. I noticed that the lot coverage is going up to 40, I believe it's 43%, and has he had a chance to speak to the abutting neighbors, and do they have any concerns with that and with any impacts in the rear yard?
I believe that my clients have not spoken to anyone. I think it's largely a matter of COVID. They're not anxious to make anybody feel uncomfortable going door to door. That said, I do know from them or through them that the house next door is actually empty right now. So I think that's number 7. So as far as I know, that's the only feedback or lack of feedback, I guess, for want of a better term, from the neighborhood.
I have a question for the applicant with respect to the ancillary building in the front.
Yeah.
What function does that serve, and how long has it been there? Tell us a bit about that.
Well, yeah, it's existing. It's no thing of beauty, to be sure. It's kind of a garden shed. But given the fact that we've got a really small backyard and it's a pie-shaped lot, my clients didn't really see a compelling reason to get rid of it, so they've just left it in. And actually, it's kind of fortuitous that they did, since it seems to have provoked at least 2 of the variances. So it's really just a garden shed. It came with the property when they bought it.
Okay. Okay, any further questions for the applicant? If there are none, then we can take the application into committee. And I'll look to committee members, panel members, for a motion, please.
Just some comments before I put forward a motion. I think a number of the variances result due to the unusual pie-shaped nature of the lot. And so, while normally the 43% coverage might raise a concern, I think it's really resulting due to the pie shape of this lot. So I think overall the variances are minor, and I would move a motion to approve the variances with no conditions.
Motion to approve, second by Mr. Reid. All those in favor? The application is approved. Thank you.
Many thanks, committee. Have a good day.
Thank you. As we move on to number 25 application, 23 St. Hubert Avenue. We are looking at applicant's materials. There is a staff report from Urban Forestry and correspondence in support from 27 and 29 Hubert Avenue. So, Mr. Moderator.
Through you, Mr. Chair, David Moscal, the agent, is here, and there are no speakers in opposition.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dave Moscal here.
Panel members, do you wish a presentation on this application? Any questions for the applicant? There being none, we can take this application into committee for any comments there might be, and moving toward a motion, please.
I'm happy to put forward a motion on this. I think we can see by the 2 variances that they're really minor and almost technical in nature. And this is really just reflecting the nature of redevelopment that's happening in the neighborhood and staying to the existing footprint. So I move to approve with urban forestry condition number 2.
Okay, motion to approve by Mr. Reid. Urban forestry number 2 to apply. Is there a second for that motion? Mr. Solomon, thank you. Motion to approve, Mr. Reed, subject to urban forestry number 2, seconded by Mr. Solomon. All those in favor? And the application is approved unanimously.
Thank you, committee members. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you. Application number 26, 307 Richview Ave. We are looking at applicant materials. There's a staff report from Transportation Services and another one from Urban Forestry. There is correspondence in interest and concern from Lucas Chartier and Lorraine Lapointe-Shaw, 309 Richview. And opposition correspondence from David Hacker and Heather Shear, 305 Richview Ave. Mr. Moderator, do we have the speaker?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. We had Chusan Chan registered as the agent on file. However, I don't see him in the hearing room. I've contacted the email on file because we don't have a phone number, and I believe Ali Shakari is here to represent the application. He was CC'd on my email, so I'll just let him to speak to that here.
And do we have anyone speaking in concern?
Yes, pardon me. There's one in concern.
Very good. Okay, then. So, good afternoon, Mr. Shakiri. Mr. Shakiri, good afternoon.
Hello, Mr. Shakiri, can you hear us? Okay, just one moment. I'm gonna phone Mr. Mike Chan, who I was corresponding with about the application. Hello, Mr. Shakiri.
Yes, do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Shakiri.
Good afternoon.
Would you state your name, please?
My name is Ali Shakiri. I'm the designer and representing number 307 Richview Avenue.
Thank you very much. Glad to have you with us. You have 5 minutes to make your presentation to the Committee of Adjustment, and your 5 minutes are beginning now. Please proceed.
Thank you very much. If I can ask the staff to show the supporting material that I have submitted. It's a case study showing the history of the approvals on Richview Avenue. And while that is coming up, I just wish to tell you gladly that I've been in touch with both of the neighbors on the north and south side. Mr. Hacker on the south side is now in support of the application. He has stated his support in writing this morning. And I have had a discussion with the north side neighbor, Mr. Lucas, and I'm not sure if he's present here or not, but we have discussed the matter. I cannot see on the screen the supporting material that they've submitted. Is it possible that the staff can upload that?
Hi, Mr. Shakiri. We have not received your supporting materials.
Yes, that has been online since July 15th. I can even see that, and I just don't understand why it cannot be shown. I can even share the screen and show that.
Okay, Mr. Shakiri, we're seeing if we can access those documents from another source. I'm going to put your time on hold here so that we don't lose your time.
Thank you very much, sir. And by the way, I've been listening to the hearing since the beginning. I apologize for the interruption, but I don't know what has happened. I was the applicant. I didn't receive the access code up until just 2 hours ago. And I had to send a lot of emails requesting that. I'm attending Committee of Adjustment hearings, even the virtual, and I'm not a stranger to this, but I don't know what basically went wrong.
Well, thank you for your thanks for your patience with the process, and we are doing the very best we can. It's working pretty smoothly generally, but thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so thank you very much. I see that so if going through this, this is a history of the approvals in Richview Avenue. It basically shows that the variances of much greater FSI and smaller side yards and the longer building depth, particularly I'm focusing on those three that I'm basically proposing for this application, have been granted. We did this case study to make sure what we're proposing is not setting a new precedent, let alone that we are staying below all of those. The height of the building, by the way, the 3-story houses are allowed in the neighborhood, but my client has chosen to have a 2-story house, and we believe that it's a reasonable proposal. But if there is any question, I'd be more than glad to answer.
Thank you very much. I think perhaps we'll hold the questions until after we have heard from the other person, this person speaking in concern. Mr. Moderator, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Could you state your name, please?
Lucas Chartier, I'm the neighbor adjacent to the north of the applicant.
You're the north neighbor, okay. So you're not the neighbor who has recently dropped their opposition. You are the other side. Thank you. Okay, you'll have 5 minutes to address the committee with your concerns, and your 5 minutes is beginning now. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. I appreciate the time. It seems like we had a bit of an issue to get on the line, everybody here, so I appreciate the time. I was able to discuss with the owner of the house yesterday for the first time. We had not been contacted and came in a little bit late in the process. However, I was grateful to be able to discuss with him yesterday and with Ali, who is on the line today. Apologies, Ali, for not having gotten back to you as I was hoping to. Urgent clinical matter I had to attend to for work, so I apologize for this. I was also grateful for Ali's discussion this morning, whereby we resolved one issue not related to the bylaw variance but related to a window placement that would be overlooking our second story deck, which would cause pretty significant privacy issues both for ourselves and for the applicant. So we're grateful that this was settled. Point number 2 that you see on the letter right now is just to ensure that the side yard setback of 1.2 meters would be maintained. It appears to be the case. It was not asked as a variance either, and again, very grateful to the applicant for this. One thing that I wanted to ensure was included, and this may be my limitation as not being familiar with the process, was the fact that there's a mature tree on the property. It actually crosses the property line between myself and the applicant towards the back of the property. I've received the assurance of Ali that this will not be impaired in any way. I wasn't sure if this must be included in the decision from this committee. Again, apologies, I'm not too familiar with the proceedings, but this is a mature tree that would require a tree protection zone. I know that there was an urban forestry report that was provided, although again, not being sure exactly what it said. I wanted to double check with this committee whether it needed to be included. And finally, sorry for making you jump back and forth between all the documents, much appreciated. The tree you would see would be on the bottom right side of your screen right now. Right here, exactly. Thank you so much. Finally, the only real concern that my wife and I had with regards to the I guess the enjoyment of our property, which I recognize is a subjective and selfish proposition, was the length of the property from the applicant, which is, although not disconcerting from a prior acceptance point of view from other neighborhood properties, remains long and will significantly impair the sunlight as well as certainly the enjoyment of our backyard, and this was a concern that we had. We understand that this committee tries to uphold the bylaws as much as possible, recognizing that that there sometimes needs to be some variances. I again, not being familiar to this process, I'm not sure what the criteria are to be able to cross these thresholds, and we thought we would mention it, although again the bigger issue for us was the side yard setback as well as the mature tree, both of which don't appear to be an issue, and I'm grateful to Mr. Ali and to the owner for ensuring that this would be the case. I'm happy to take any questions, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you for yours. Panel members, any questions of the speaker? Okay, then, if there are no questions of the speaker, we shall return to Mr. Shakiri, the applicant.
Yes, thank you. And yes, according to our discussion, that tree, the mature tree on the backyard, is actually a protected tree. So we have no intention to remove it. Actually, the owner wishes to maintain the tree because of its value, and I have seen the report from the forestry, and we are accepting their condition. As for the side yard, we do not wish to move the house any further north. And that was my suggestion to Mr. Lucas, that if basically the committee wishes to impose a condition to tie the site plan, we accept that. Just to make sure there is no change with regard to the side yard on the north side. And that window basically that he mentioned is, yes, we are going to make that window smaller. I'm not sure if that's a condition that the Committee of Adjustment can add to the decision, but I explained to him that that's something that the owner and Mr. Lucas both would benefit from it, so we are not hesitant to do that. I have no further comment.
Thank you very much. Any questions, panel members, of the applicant? Then we'll take the application into committee for a motion. I'd like to panel members for a motion, please.
Sure, I'm happy to put forward a motion. I first of all want to commend the applicant and the neighbors for coming to some agreement and a shared view on the proposal. It's always good to see that. I do think that this is a relatively restrained house for as far as the new builds go in this neighborhood, and so I believe that the variances requested are minor, both in amount and impact. So I would move approval subject to urban forestry condition number 2.
Motion to approve by Mr. Reid, subject to urban forestry. Is there a second for that motion? Mr. Chang seconds. Thank you. All those in favor? The motion is unanimously approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And panel moves along to our next item, which is number 27. 646 Lansdowne Avenue. On this application, the committee is dealing simply with the material submitted by the applicant. Mr. Moderator.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent Nelson Espinola on the line, and there are no speakers in opposition.
Thanks. Panel members on this application, do you feel like you need a presentation? Would you like to go straight to questions then? Any questions for the applicant?
I had a question on the proposed FSI, and what is the existing built FSI?
The existing FSI is 164.46 square meters. So we're adding approximately 92.98 square meters of floor space.
Any further questions? There being none, I look to panel members for a motion, please.
Given that the site is already, the existing build condition is already higher than the zoning allows, so the actual increase in GFA is appropriate, is not substantial. And so I believe the proposal is minor, and I would move a motion to approve the requested variances, and there are no conditions.
We have a motion to approve by Mr. Salomon, second by Mr. Reed. All those in favor? Show of hands, please. The application is approved with a unanimous
Thank you,
vote.
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. And the committee moves along now to number 28, 333 Woodmount Ave. And we are looking at applicant materials submitted, including 3 photographs of the property. We have a staff report from Urban Forestry. And Mr. Moderator?
Through you, Chair, we have the agent Ida Evangelista on the line and no speakers in opposition.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon.
If you are satisfied with your message, press 1. To listen to your message,
We're just going to take a moment to call a different number for Ida. Hello, Ida, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Could you state your name?
afternoon.
Could you state your name, please?
Ida Evangelista.
Thank you very much.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we do. You're
Yes.
you're with the committee now. Thank you very much. Panel members, are there any questions of the applicant? Do we feel like we need a presentation here? Apparently not. That being the case, committee can take this application directly into committee. And we'll do so for a motion, please.
Sure, I'll put forward a motion. I think that this is a reasonable redevelopment of this site, and I think the variances themselves are quite minor. The fact that there was no rear yard or side yard variances being requested gave me some comfort with the height. So I will put forward a motion to approve, subject to urban forestry condition 1 and 2.
Thank you very much. So, motion to approve by Mr. Reed, subject to urban forestry 1 and 2. Seconder for that motion? Mr. Cheng, thank you very much. All those in favor, show of hands. Thank you very much. The application is approved with a unanimous vote.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you. And committee moves to number 29, 590 Runnymede. On this application, the panel is looking at applicant's materials. There is a form letter in support from the occupants of 588 Runnymede, and there is correspondence in opposition from Linda Box of 74 Vernon Street. Mr. Moderator.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the agent David Smith is on the line, and there are no speakers in opposition.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of committee.
Good afternoon to you. Could you state your name, please?
David Smith, 401 Craven Road, here representing the homeowners at 590 Runnymede Road.
Thank you very much. I'll go to the panel members now to ask if they do wish a presentation. or if they have any questions for the applicant. There being none, we can actually move to take the application into committee. I'll do that now. Any comments, panel members, or or a motion, please?
I would move approval of the requested variances. I believe they are minor. There are many three-story houses on the street. I've noticed several have enclosed front porches, and the north side yard variance, I note, is an existing condition. So I believe the variances proposed are minor, and so I would move approval with no conditions.
Thank you. Motion to approve, Mr. Salomon. Second for that motion? Yes, there is. Mr. Reed, thank you. All those in favor? Show of hands, please. Thank you. The application is approved. Unanimous vote.
Thank you very much. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you. And we come to item number 30 on this afternoon's agenda, 84 Medland Crescent. We have before us applicant's materials submitted. There is a staff report from Urban Forestry, and there is correspondence in concern and interest from Deborah DeMonte of 92 Medland Crescent. So on this one, Mr. Moderator.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have Luke Johnston, the agent, on the line, and Gwyn Williams speaking in interest.
Thank you very much. Okay, then. So, good afternoon, Mr. Johnston.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. You shall have 5 minutes to present your application to the committee, and your 5 minutes are beginning now, so please, carry on.
Great, thank you. Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Luke Johnson. I'm the architect and agent representing this application. Today we are seeking several variances related to the proposed plans. Those plans include an enclosed front porch, rear one-story extension, and new outdoor deck off of that extension. My clients are seeking these exemptions as they are requiring more space in their house to accommodate their active lifestyle that includes 2 kids involved in various year-round sports. In addition to that, given the recent events related to the COVID pandemic, my clients are both working from now and presumably in the future, and this additional space would be very helpful. This renovation and extension are both modest in size and trying to keep with the character of the neighborhood, and the additional living space requested is designed to their exact needs with nothing being extraneous. In regards to variances 1 and 5, and as they relate to the front porch, I will say that when the clients initially purchased the house, it had an existing enclosed front porch. If I could refer to the documents submitted July 15th, 2020, we did a neighborhood study map which shows other properties located nearby that also have enclosed porches. You will notice that the 2 immediate neighbors to the south both have enclosed porches, and in the 3D renderings provided, I believe that this is keeping with the character of the neighborhood. Beyond the neighborhood character, this enclosed porch becomes an essential space for the client's active lifestyle, storing bikes and various sports equipment through the seasons. The rear house addition to the east is where variances 3 and 4 come into play. For my clients, having an expanded kitchen and eating areas is an important part of their everyday life and offers them another surface to set up a temporary workstation. My clients and I went through many different options for this, ended up on this particular layout and design. Much effort was put into avoiding a rear setback, but ultimately we had to encroach the setback by 46 centimeters to ensure a table that sat all members of the family was possible. It should be noted that this encroachment still does not come out as far as the neighbor's rear porch overhang, and this was done intentionally so as not to adversely affect their outdoor living space. The final variance, number 2 on the list, is in reference to the rear deck encroaching the rear yard setback, as it is within the 0.9 meter side yard setback. The current side yard setback of the deck is located at 0.8 meters at its narrowest point. This has to do with the angle of the lot lines. The deck does not encroach the side yard setback further west as it goes. We felt aligning the edge of the deck with the edge of the house made for a clearer and more unified design as well as constructability. While the deck does encroach the setbacks, it also pays respect to the 50% soft landscaping requirement and is sized appropriately to accommodate an outdoor eating area and small barbecue space. While we were unable to size the deck to avoid some of these variances, we did try to maintain the usability while keeping the soft landscaping at 50%. Given all these factors, we do feel that variances being requested fit the general intent of the city's official plan and bylaws. This is a reasonable and modest proposal that seeks to find more space for a busy family. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think we shall hold on to questions for the applicant until after the person speaking in interest has spoken. So, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Is this Mr. Williams?
My name is Glenn. Yes.
Yes, good afternoon. All right then. Mr. Williams, just a moment, please. Let me just advise you. You'll have 5 minutes to address the committee, and I would ask you to keep your comments, if you would, please, focus on things that we can actually address, where we are able to address the items that the Committee of Adjustment may address. So those are the things we're focused on. In this case, we have 5 minor variance requests that represent the focus of our discussion. Your 5 minutes begins now. Please carry on.
Thank you. Yes, my wife submitted on our behalf some concerns we have. We have no concern with the variances, with the renovations. That's not our concern. Our concern is the construction process. I believe it's going to last maybe 6 months, mostly through the winter, and its impact on the community. Very simply put, these are things you're probably familiar with. Access to the back of the applicant's property is only through a narrow lane between our house and the neighbor. And it's a very narrow lane, 2 meters wide for vehicles. The heavy trucks get stuck down there all the time. It's a problem. And by heavy, I mean overloaded pickup trucks and stuff. Secondly, the road's not in great, the laneway's not in great condition, and so who's going to be liable for that damage? Third, street parking is a huge problem on Medland, as it is in many parts of the city. And so when you have construction workers showing up, they have to have somewhere to park, and that's going to cause real problems for some neighbors, including us. So that's another issue. And otherwise, it's about noise and how the process will be managed. So I guess what we're asking for is, can these concerns be addressed in a construction plan attached to the the application, so that it can be shared throughout the neighborhood? Is that a reasonable request? Thank you.
Thank you very much. To give you a response to that, the issues that we're dealing with here are the 5 minor variance requests, and that is the extent of our authority. The issues you're dealing with are very real regarding. I've looked at that laneway. It looks like it would be very difficult to access it. I understand your parking concerns, questions about noise control. Well, all of these are construction-related issues. So those are, in fact, beyond the authority, outside the authority of the Committee of Adjustment. They are construction issue, things that you would take up with a building inspector, where the application to receive approval today from the Committee of Adjustment, and then where at such time as the applicant got building permits. So that would be the way forward on those issues that you raise, and I'm not underestimating them for a moment. Okay, in that case, if I may, I shall go back to the applicant. Mr. Johnson, is with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, thank you. So you would have heard what I just said. Do you have any comments on those things?
Sure, yes. I mean, we haven't hired a general contractor yet, but the clients and I have interviewed a couple. And definitely my clients and myself are very concerned with these same reasons. We want to keep everyone in the neighborhood happy during the construction process as much as we can. And we'll do our best to address the community concerns about noise and construction times. It's certainly on everyone's interest right now. So I don't think these are things that we're not dismissing, taking them into account for sure.
Thank you very much. Okay. Panel members, with respect to the variances, do panel members have questions to put to the applicant? No questions for the applicant. In that case, panel can take the application then into committee for a decision. And I'll look to panel members for a motion, please.
Well, I believe the proposed variances are minor. I looked at the FSI data and I noted that it's already, the existing as-built is already at 0.9. And so the proposed increase is just going from 0.9 FSI to 1.07. And the addition is really just a small rear one-story addition. So I would move approval of the requested variances subject to urban forestry conditions.
Thank you very much. So a motion to approve, subject to urban forestry by Mr. Solomon, second by Mr. Reed. And all those in favor, show of hands, please. The application is approved unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Committee moves along to application number 31. Number 8, Herndale. And here we are looking at the materials which the applicant submitted. We have a staff report from Transportation Services, Permits and Enforcement Parking. And we have support correspondence in the form of form letters from 4 owner occupants. Mr. Moderator.
Through you, Chair, we have the agent, Mr. Ronchen, on the line, and there's no one in opposition.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Mr. Ronchen.
Good afternoon. Guido Ronchen here, agent for my clients, Jennifer Martin and David Marcelli.
Thank you very much. And I'll ask my fellow panel members if they would feel they could benefit from a presentation. Mr. Cheng, yes? No? Are there any questions for the applicant? No? In that case, we can actually move to taking the application into committee for a decision. So, panel members, I'd welcome your comments and a motion, please.
I'm happy to put forward a motion. I think that this is a reasonable and sensible application. And I'd note that the FSI existing is already over 5.5. So I think that the variances are minor, and I would move to approve with no conditions.
There is a motion then to approve the application. Is there a second for that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, may I suggest that prior to the issuance of a building permit that they complete the transfer of the front yard parking license as a condition? Just ensure that that gets done.
Very good,
Sure,
Mr.
that's
Reed.
fine.
You okay with that?
Yes, please.
So we'll add that, we'll amend the motion to include approval pending
Transfer of the front yard parking license from the previous owners.
transfer of front yard parking license from previous owners. For that amended motion, do we have a second? Mr. Salomon. Then motion to approve. All those in favor? The application is approved unanimously, subject to that condition.
Thank you very much, committee.
Thank you. And committee moves right along to number 32. Which is 31 Redwood Avenue. On this application, we have the applicant's materials, plus we have supporting materials from Leo Mastrandrea, including photographs of the property and a number of Committee of Adjustment decisions. There is a staff report from Urban Forestry. In the form of correspondence in support, there is a letter from 25 Redwood Avenue and 3 form letters in support from 27, 29, and 30 Redwood Ave. In writing in interest or concern, we have correspondence from Varen Vakar and Michelle Jacobson at 32 Glenside, and from Adele Simpson and Kevin Doherty at 30 Glenside. So, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have Mr. Mastrandrea, the agent, on the line, and then 2 speakers in opposition.
Very good. Okay, good afternoon, Mr. Mastrandrea.
Good afternoon. I'm the agent for the, can you hear me?
We hear you fine.
Yes, I'm the agent for the owners at 31 Redwood.
Very good, thank you. You will have 5 minutes now to address the committee, and your 5 minutes is beginning now. Please proceed.
I believe we have 4 variances, all in which I believe are minor in nature. And our proposal is consistent with the built form as well as the approved decisions by the committee. The neighbors' concerns were more based on the garage that abuts their rear yard, which we will be removing and replacing with a fence. But we have about 45 feet from our new rear wall to the back of the property. So essentially, one of their main concerns was regarding the garage, which we are removing and we're replacing with the fence. So I believe this does meet the 4 tests. And if you have any questions, I can answer them all for you.
Thank you very much. I think we'll just hold the questions until we've had a chance to hear from those that are going to be speaking in concern on the application. And first of all would be, good afternoon, who's next up?
Mr. Vishar is on the line.
Mr. Vishar.
Hi, can you hear me?
We do hear you. Yes, you
So I also have my wife here, Michelle Jacobson.
Hi.
Just wanted to sort of clarify certain things. There is sort of concern that when the garage will be removed, there will be a new fence put in. So thank you for clarifying that. We also had concerns around the slope that is immediately behind the property, 31 Redwood, that backs onto both ours and 30 Glenside Avenue. Would the construction in any way impact the slope or, in fact, the trees that are in our backyard?
We have 2 fairly large trees that are on that very steep slope, so we want to make sure any construction is not going to affect the stability of them, as well as kind of water runoff.
Excuse me?
That's supposed to be impacted.
Pardon me. Okay, we're glad to hear from you both. I'm going to give you 5 minutes time jointly, but I'll ask you if you would please to speak one first and then one second, rather than...
Sure.
Thank you. Carry on, please. Mr. Vishar.
The final piece of concern was around it is sort of increasing the footprint of the house, and this is my first time participating in this process, so I'm not sure what the considerations there are, because it will sort of impact the light that's available to us, and also sort of privacy in the backyard. And to that point, we also wanted to clarify sort of the height of the new proposed build, because currently the roof is sort of a flat roof, and the newer structure is not going to be a flat roof. So I wanted to clarify sort of, sorry, it's the other way around, that the new structure has a flat roof. So we wanted to clarify sort of whether the current height is from at the highest point or somewhere else.
Mr. Vishar, I'm concerned, as we go along, unfortunately, your audio quality is gradually becoming less and less distinct. I'm not sure what the reason would be.
Oh, sorry. Is this better?
Just be aware of that, and perhaps do speak slowly, please, because of that.
Sure. Do you want me to go over what I said previously?
No, I think we're fine.
I think you should, yes, please. Because we missed about the last 15 seconds or so.
Yeah, so I also wanted to clarify the height of the new build. So is the height in comparison to the highest point of the existing structure or elsewhere? Because the new build is going to be a flat roof. So just wanted to get a better idea of the impact that will have on the light available to us in the backyard.
Okay, thank you. Anything further? Please go ahead, Ms. Jacobson.
Thank you. Yeah, the only thing I would add to that is I think the height of the basement, there's a planned increase, so wanted to, our concern there is if the basement is being dug down to increase the height, again, if that affects the integrity of the slope behind our house at all, because it is quite steep, and there are 2 large trees on it. That was it.
Thank you very much. Okay, then. Panel members, any questions of these speakers? No. Okay, we shall move on to the next parties speaking in concern.
Hi, my name's Adele Simpson. Can you hear me?
Yes, this is Ms. Simpson. Yes, we do hear you. And
okay, I've also got with me Kevin Doherty. We are joint owners of number 30 Tenside.
Okay, Ms. Simpson, we're hearing you, but your audio quality is poor. You'll have to speak slowly.
Okay.
Go very slowly.
Is that better? Okay. So just a general comment to start with is the first that we heard of the proposed changes was when we received the notice of this hearing in the mail. We would have appreciated the owners reaching out to us and giving us the opportunity to understand the natures of these changes and give us the opportunity to raise any concerns there. In terms of the requested changes, I'll reference the pictures at the end of our submission as it may help illustrate some of the points. In terms of the variances to the permitted limit, specifically the maximum floor space, it's actually going to be 25% over the permitted, and we query whether that is truly a minor variance.
Ms. Simpson?
Yes.
Okay, I need to caution you. We're getting part of your what you're saying, but we are missing. So I'm going to caution you to please speak unusually slowly so that the audio problem is mitigated to the greatest degree possible. Just, I'll give you extra time if you need it, but go speak very slowly, please.
Okay. So with regards to maximum floor space, the proposed property is going to be 0.76 times of the lot area versus the permitted 0.6. This is 25% over the permitted lot area. So we're querying whether this is truly a minor variance. Then with regards to the nature of the change, it's quite material. It's demolition of an existing property, the house and the detached garage. We echo the points raised by our neighbours regarding excavation of the basement and whether that will cause any degradation to the stability of the slope, which you can see in picture 1. The stability and the drainage from number 31 down onto our property. We also have concerns regarding the removal of the garage, and I'll refer you to pictures 2 and 3. The garage appears to be on a concrete base, and if you look at picture 3, there is a mature tree on our side of the property where we believe the roots are probably going under the garage, existing garage. As a result, we've got concerns that any demolition activity may damage the roots of the tree, which would put the tree at risk and also the stability of the bank. In terms of the replacement house that is being proposed, we see that in terms of footprint and location in the plot, it will be further back in the plot, and it will have a flat roof versus the current pitched roof. It wasn't clear whether at the highest point of the current house that it will be the same height as the proposed new house, but we do have concerns that given this property lies to the west of our backyard, it will mean that we lose sunlight in the afternoon earlier, especially in the spring and the fall. And this would severely impact our ability to enjoy our backyard. I'll just hand over to my partner in case there's any other, I don't think there are any other points at this point.
Hello? Hello?
Hello? Did you catch all of that?
We did when you, yes, we did understand what you were saying. Thank you very much. And you actually have arrived at your time.
Okay, great.
So thank you for your presentation. Are there panel members any questions of this speaker? No, there aren't. Okay.
Actually, I have a quick question.
Would you state your name, please?
It's me, Aaron. I just have a question about.
It's Aaron.
Oh,
the
sorry,
lady
Aaron.
who's.
Go
it's
ahead.
okay. It's all right. Just have a quick question to the lady who just expressed her concern. Yeah. So, did the owner or the agent of your neighbor explain to you that what they are allowed to build and what they're not allowed to build, the difference, and how that impact to the concern that you mentioned? Because if you look at the numbers of those variances, it seems like they're pretty small and they're allowed to do what they are going to do anyway. So have they explained that to you yet, or?
We've had no communication from them. That was my opening point.
Because if you look at
the first
is only 0.02 meter, and you have a concern about the shadows of your backyard. And you can see that the depth is already allowed to go up to 17 meters, and they're asking for 1703. So that's something that I'm not sure if you understand the impact or the meanings of these numbers. Because if they just bring back by 0.03 meters, they can still, build something they like without this variance, and they will be still blocking you. So did you explain did you talk to them? So you were not given a chance to talk to the neighbor directly. You just.
So no, we haven't had any discussions with the neighbour. We did not know that these proposed changes were happening until we received the notice of this hearing.
I see.
The concerns, whilst it might not be material in a numbers point of view, the actual position of the new building will be further back in the block. And we have less concerns on the width of it. It's basically, we can't understand from the documentation provided whether the highest point is near the current highest point in the house, and the fact that the new building will have a flat roof. So the surface area of that obstruction will be greater, even if it is at the same height of the current house.
I see.
Does that make sense?
Okay. Okay. Yes, I'll have to ask the questions to the applicant in a bit, but thank you for your answers.
Okay. Aaron, was that a question of the applicant? No. Okay. Let us then ask the applicant to return. So we'll ask Mr. Mastrandrea to come back, if he would, please, and to give a general synopsis of the nature of these calls. There's been, I've heard a request to clarify on the height issue, to clarify what the height issue will do.
So if we refer to page, number 9 on my package I sent in, page number 9 of my package, the bottom corner, there's the photo of the existing house. Sorry, of the photos of this. Oh, sorry.
Hey, Leo.
Yeah. So our flat roof will be almost in line with where it starts to slope. So it'll be much lower than the existing house is now. So the impact is minimal. We have a small, it's 0.02, which is probably about an inch.
That's what I'm wondering. Why are you fighting for that inch?
We could revise it, but when we had to come for the floor area, we just left it alone. We're not fighting for the inch. I think these are minor variances and they're consistent with what's been approved.
Okay.
And it was also
a similar situation to your depth, right? The house that you're doing to the back.
Correct.
You're again asking for an inch more than you're allowed.
Yeah, so those aren't critical. The floor space is probably the critical one. And when they were talking about the excavation of the basement, we're so far away from, we're about 45 feet from the rear yard to our property line. It will not impact any sort of stability to that slope whatsoever.
Any further questions of the applicant?
Yeah, I do have a question. There were residents at the rear who were asking what is going to happen to once the garage at the back is removed, how will the tree and the slope stability be dealt with?
As far as the tree is concerned, I believe we have a condition to deal with forestry. And as far as once the garage is removed, we will assess it because we're not sure if it's slab on grade or not. But regardless, we are much higher, and I don't believe if we need to just keep the pad in order to maintain everything, we will.
So just a question, just to assist the residents at the rear, should you go for a building permit, how does the building permit and the building department deal with this issue of grading and slope stability at the rear?
Well, we will provide a grading plan, which the water needs to dissipate on our own property. And that is part of the permit process. So we will have to deal with the drainage.
Any further questions of the applicant? If not, then committee will take the application into committee for a decision. And I'll look to panel members for comments and a motion, please.
I think the variances are minor, and there are a couple of them that are extremely minor. You can almost wonder why they were even there, but they're so minor. Anyway, I think overall the proposal meets the intent of the zoning bylaw. The variances are minor, and I would move approval of the requested variances subject to urban forestry conditions.
There we have it. Motion to approve by Mr. Salomon, subject to urban forestry. Second by Mr. Chang. All those in favor? And the application is approved with a unanimous vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And committee moves on to application number 33, which is 32 Wallace Avenue. And on 32 Wallace, we just have before us the submission from the applicant of materials. Mr. Moderator, is the applicant with us?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the agent Bruno Lopez is on the line, and there is no one in opposition.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Bruno Lopez. I'm Excel Engineering designer and agent on behalf of the owner.
Thank you very much. Members of panel, would you like a presentation from Mr. Lopez on this application? Are there any questions of Mr. Lopez you'd like to put?
I do have questions on the front basement walkout and the stairs leading to that in the front yard. And I think they're coming out about 9 feet. And so I'm just wondering, how does this fit in with the character of the street?
Mr. Lopez?
Yes. So this is actually an existing condition, and if you notice, the stairs are actually parallel to the house as existing. Because we are doing an underpinning job and we have to gain some room, that's why you now facilitate the entrance to the house. We actually do a perpendicular entrance. There are a few of them in the neighborhood. Actually, I don't have any picture with me, or I haven't submitted. But it's a trend that is coming up. It's that these entrances that I've done many projects. There is one on 60 Lapin that I did it myself, and that's exactly the same condition. So the stairs, instead of being parallel to the houses, now we tend to do it a front entrance straight on, and this is better for moving furniture and all the things. And not only that, as well, gives us the opportunity to actually put a wider doors, more glazing, more lighting to the basement.
So in this case, Mr. Lopez, in fact, the committee is dealing with an existing condition, as you call it. We're being asked to legalize these front steps that have already been built.
No, they are not built yet. Sorry. There is an existing condition, and if you see on drawing A020103, say, the existing stairs to the basement, there is a small door, let's say a 3-foot door, and there are existing stairs and landing. So what we're doing is reversing. Instead of have the entrance parallel to the house, it's going to be perpendicular to the front of the house, and we are putting a double door. So literally just betterment of condition, access, and more lighting to the basement.
Thank you very much.
I do have a further question on that. By shifting the stairs perpendicular, are there then railings along that? And is that the view that people are going to see from the sidewalk, from the street? Railings and stairs starting to go downwards underground?
Yes, that is correct. So right now we have railings, and the railings are parallel and on the small perpendicular wall. So what we have to do now, we have to put railings actually on the wall, on the stairs going down and on the existing already. So we're gonna add a little bit of railing because we are switching the stairs. So we had the opportunity to make a betterment, because as we're doing the underpinning, we are losing these 2 feet, let's say, or gaining if we see it reverse way, and we have to accommodate a couple more stairs. So doing the entrance, let's say perpendicular to the house, facilitate by all means. So again, all my projects that I've been doing these basement entrances, I try this approach because in terms of let's say maneuverability for things going in and out, and for even for access, it's way easier.
Question, Mr. Lopez. So we're looking now at this photograph, and there's a tree there, a small tree, an ornamental tree in the front lawn. How far out toward that tree will the excavation for the stairs come?
I don't have the tree located on my site plan, so I apprehend that the tree is going to be past the lot line. So this means it's a city tree, even though it seems that it's like a homeowner planted tree. But we are at least 5 feet away from it, at least, because it doesn't show on my site plan. So it goes beyond the border line, the property line.
Okay. It looks to be closer to the house than that, but it's a relatively small diameter tree. Okay. Any further questions of the applicant, panel members? Then we'll take the application into committee. And your comments, please, and a motion.
I'll add some comments to start off. I do have concerns with the change that's being proposed. I think the current stairs are more appropriate. What's being proposed is to shift the stairs perpendicular to the house, which brings them out 8 or 9 feet. And I think it changes the overall character of that house, and it's not compatible with the character of the street. And so I would move a motion of refusal.
Thank you. Other comments?
Sure, I'd add, I'm familiar with this neighborhood, and there are a lot of basement walkouts. But to Mr. Salomon's point, I think they usually are parallel to the house. Granted, though, I think what the applicant is talking about does make sense in terms of making a more kind of pleasant space in the basement unit. So I'm of two minds, because I do think it does break up the street pattern, but I don't know if it's enough of a negative impact to refuse.
Mr. Chang?
Yeah, I'm more in line with Peter. I don't think that would be, I mean, you're creating a new case of having a stair going perpendicular, but then you're still within that line. You know, if you're talking about this pop out from the house, if you look at the house, the front face as a plane across along the street, this staircase kind of pop up from that plane, but then it's not really a canopy staircase. The railing is still within 3 feet below. I don't think it would create such a problem. And I understand that when you do an underpinning, you reduce the perimeter of the basement, and for that reason, you have to adjust it. So I feel more comfortable to go ahead and approve this application. I don't see that changing orientation of the staircase is such a big impact to the language of the street. I think it is still within the same category.
Yes, I think as I've listened to the applicant, I gradually came around to that same opinion. So I'll look to panel members for a motion, please.
Sure, I'll put forward a motion to approve with no conditions.
Motion to approve by Mr. Reid. Second on that? Second by Mr. Chang. All those in favor? Those opposed? Opposed by Mr. Salomon. So the application is approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Committee moves on to application 34. 69 Colbeck Street. And committee is looking at copy of minutes from a January public hearing. We have a revised site plan, floor plans and elevations, the applicant's submission, a planning rationale from Don Lem and Lisa Mooney, the applicants. We have a staff report from Urban Forestry. There is correspondence both in support and in opposition. In support from 348 Beresford, 67 Colbeck, 4 form letters support from addresses on Colbeck and Beresford, and a 2-signature petition in support by the owner occupants of 355 Beresford. In opposition, there is a form letter signed by the owners occupants of 343 Beresford. Mr. Moderator, on this application.
Through you, Mr. Chair, Donald Lem, the owner, is on the call, and there are no speakers in opposition.
Thank you. Okay. And panel members, would you like to hear a presentation? Do we need to hear a presentation on 69 Colbeck? No. Any questions for the applicant? Oh, I'm sorry. First of all, let me just acknowledge the applicant. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Applicant. Pardon me. Is this Mr. Lem?
This is Don Lem. I'm the owner of 69 Colbeck Street.
I apologize. Good to have you with us. Panel members, any questions?
Yes, I do have one. It's Aaron. So I recognize this application because we and other members were reviewing this application a couple of months ago, and just some background history. We have no problem with the overall intent of the property, except that at that time the site plan was not very accurate, and it seems like a tree was going to be damaged for the parking. And I see that he has shown that proper driveway, and the tree is now not being injured. And I just want to make a comment that I'm glad that he's coming back with a proper set of drawings and have gone through the proper process. And yeah, and I guess we will discuss internally and see if the variances are still applicable.
Thank you. Do you have we appreciate that comment, Mr. Chang. Is there a question for the applicant, or just that comment that I understand that you think he's done a good job of sort of revising the application since he spoke last to committee?
It's more a comment. I just want to bring that up so that the rest of the team knows some history of this application.
Very good. That's valuable. Thank you. Very good then. In the absence then of further questions to the applicant, committee can take this application now into committee for a motion. So I look to members for a motion. Mr. Chang. Would you care to make a motion?
I've mentioned, I'm in favor of approving it. The scale is pretty in line with other buildings in this neighborhood, and he has already addressed the parking issues. The trees are all protected. I don't see any other problems that would have negative impact to the neighborhood.
Thank you. Motion to approve by Mr. Chang. Second for that application, Mr. Reid. All those in favor? Show of hands, please. The application is approved with a unanimous vote.
Woohoo! Thanks, guys.
And the committee moves on to the final item on this afternoon's agenda, which is number 35, 193 Holborn Ave. And we are dealing with a copy of the minutes from a June 24 public hearing. We have a staff report from Urban Forestry. Mr. Moderator.
Through you, Mr. Chair, Shervin Baboudi, the agent, is on the line, and there are no speakers in opposition.
Okay, thank you. All right. Panel members. Anyone wish a presentation on number 35? And in the absence of any presentation, do you have any direct questions for the applicant?
I had a question on the proposed building height of 9.99 meters. And the applicant explain why they need that variance for the height and why they cannot comply.
I'm sorry, Mr. Baboudi. Mr. Baboudi, I have failed.
Front elevation.
Mr. Baboudi, but first of all, I'm sorry, I have failed to acknowledge you, I think. So glad to have you joining us. Could you state your name, please?
Thank you. My name is Shervin Baboudi, a designer and also agent of the owner.
Thank you. I apologize for having overjumped your appearance at the committee. And there is a question for you from committee member Mr. Salomon. Mr. Salomon, do you mind repeating your question, please?
Yes.
So my question is relating to the proposed building height of 9.99 meters. If you can explain the rationale for requesting that height and why do you need that?
Sure. Please just bring up the drawings and the front elevation, please, so it's easier to me to explain. As you see, we proposing the garage inside the house, so it comes the goes up about 9 meters, 9 feet. Sorry.
Excuse me, Shervin, you're cutting in and out. Do you mind if I give you a phone call?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, Mr. Shervin?
Yes, do you have my voice?
Excellent. Please continue.
Okay, as you see, we're proposing the one inside garage, and that because we have to push all the building goes up around 9 feet. So because of that, the height of the building goes to near to 9.99 meters. And we want to comply with Toronto building bylaws, which is under the 10 meters, and also cause the other variances, which is all facing side, is go to the 7.5 meters.
I understand one of the reasons why the application was deferred in June was to allow you time to speak to the neighbors. Have you done so, and have the neighbors expressed opinions about the height?
No, she have a concern. It's our neighbor on the west side, she has a concern about construction, and we already talked to her, and she's okay right now. She's fine.
Thank you.
I did want to follow up on that diagram of the front elevation. If you could back up. And my question was then, what is the height of that first floor? I couldn't quite read it from the plans, but it looks like a very high first floor.
No, first floor is 10 feet. From the floor to the floor is 11 feet. So if we reduce 1 foot for the floor joist, it's going to be 10 feet.
So 10-foot ceiling on the first floor, and how about the second floor?
It's going to be 8 feet, actually.
Second floor?
It's going to be a slope roof, and it's going to go to inside the building, inside the rooms. 6'6" is clear, and then another 1'6" gonna go with a slope.
Let me see if I understand you.
And it comes with a copper ceilings. We're gonna try to catch to 9 in the middle, but if possible.
Okay, let me take care to make sure I understand you correctly. The first floor ceiling height is 10 feet, and the second floor ceiling height, did you say, was 8 feet?
Yes, correct. With the copper ceilings go to the 9 feet.
Would you mind repeating that, please? You're just a little bit more slowly.
Sure. We're proposing 8 feet with a copper ceiling, 9 feet.
Thank you. Any further questions for the applicant? If there aren't, then we are able to take this application into committee for a decision. So I look to panel members for comments and a motion, please.
Sure, I'll put forward a motion. I heard this application last month, and I understand we gave the deferral to speak to the neighbor, but also to correct the public notice. And I was in support of the application then. I'm glad to hear that the neighbor is on board, or at least we're not hearing any opposition from her now. So I do think that it's a reasonable application with minor impacts on the neighborhood. So motion to approve subject to urban forestry condition 3.
Motion to approve subject to forestry. Second for that motion. Second by Mr. Cheng. All those in favor of the motion? And those opposed? Opposition by Mr. Solomon. The application is approved. And sir, your application has approval.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And with that, we conclude the agenda for this afternoon's meeting. And we are 3:41 in recess. We're adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, have a good evening.
See ya.
See you guys.
You too. Bye-bye. Thanks, Bruce.
Terrific. Thank you very much, everybody. Bye.
All right. Bye.